Hi everybody, I hope that you're all doing really well. So today I am quickly here to talk about the poetry collection Wearing My Mother's Heart by Sophia Thakur. You may have heard me mention Sophia Thakur's poetry before on this channel because I read her first poetry collection, Somebody Give This Heart of Pen, back in 2020, I want to say, and I love that poetry collection so much. It was one of my top books of 2020. It very quickly cemented Sophia Thakur as one of my favourite poets of all time, just with the one collection, and so when I found out that she had a new poetry collection, I had to snap it up. This was actually the first book I picked up in 2023. Not the first book that I finished, to be perfectly honest, but it was the first one that I wanted to put my eyes to in 2023, and I do feel like this was a very good pick. And like her previous poetry collection, this is an instant 5 stars for me. I really enjoyed this. At the beginning of this collection, she gives a little bit of a preface, a bit of a prologue on what has inspired this collection, and it is very much talking about her two grandmothers as well as her mother and the lasting legacy that they've had on her life, particularly because both of her grandmothers fell for men that they were not meant to marry, not only across like country lines but also religious lines. My two grandmothers, whilst loving God, also each loved men who loved a different God. And in the Gambia in 1965, if you were born to African Christian fathers, you weren't expected to fall in the kind of love that swapped your father's last name for a Southeast Asian man's. My grandmothers on both sides were powerless against the pull of their hearts and chose love over tradition, boldly and publicly falling in love with men outside their religion. To them, love should always come first before any career. Hearing their stories carves a space for compassion in today's less forgiving society. My parents are fruit of a new seed planted in our family tree. They were born from the audacity of love. Through this collection, Sophia Thakur is kind of taking an intergenerational look across love, across the idea of change and progress, and reflecting on how we have to look at our past, we have to look at previous generations and understand the context of when they were living to understand today. Which, you know, as somebody who loves history, I definitely agree with. As I say, it is a book about intergenerational relationships, family. It is about identity, race, politics. It is very much about her faith, mental health, and basically just coming into your own, working out your personality, your identity in the midst of so much change and so much emotional upheaval and turmoil. This collection is broken up into 4 different sections. The first one is very much focused on her grandparents' journeys, focusing very much on their love and also of their experiences coming to England. There are lots of poems in here about that process of immigration and establishing identity and community in a place that is at best mixed in their reception towards you moving there and at worst negative and actively xenophobic. The second then jumps a generation where looking at parents, and it's kind of Sophia Thakur kind of taking her parents' perspectives, transplanting her brain into theirs. Parents looking at their children and reflecting on how far things have come and also how far we have to go. The third section of this poetry collection is very much tied up with love, particularly romantic love, though platonic love does come up as well. And in this we are feeling the full spectrum of emotions of joy and also the pain of love. The fourth section probably hits the hardest. It is very much about loss and about grief. We are feeling the lowest lows, but this is not a book that ends on a sad note. Towards the end of the collection, we do see a little glimpse of hope. We see this narrator slowly coming back into themselves, very much fueled by the love that they have around them, by their family, by their faith. In comparison to Somebody Give This Heart a Pen, I feel like that first collection touches on a lot of similar topics, particularly to do with identity and race, but I would argue it's very much a more internal kind of struggle and journey. It feels very personal to the narrator, whereas in this collection it feels like we have expanded slightly. It feels like Sophia Thakur is taking her internal narrative and transplanting it outside and trying to invite other people's perspectives in, bringing other people into this journey and kind of contextualizing her internal feelings with those of others around her, because of course we do not go through life alone. Whilst it is important to have these internal, like, private reflections on ourselves, in order to know more about ourselves, we do need to invite other people in and get other people's perspectives. And so I feel like reading both of these poetry collections back to back, you actually get a really nice balance. I would say neither one is better than the other. They feel like two sides of the same coin in a very beautiful way. As I say, this book very much focuses on the weight of history, not only familial but societal as well. One of my favourite poems in here was this absolutely fantastic critiquing, ripping into arguments to do with statues and the people that we choose to commemorate, particularly when it comes to slave owners being commemorated via statues. And that whole argument that popped up in 2020, 2021 of should we keep those statues up or should we tear them down? And her perspective on this just made my little history nerd heart sing, because I definitely agree. And it is the poem City of Stolen Souls. A statue collects stares from eyes that assume something of them was so good, so honourable, that to only immortalise them in the mind was not enough. To read the plaque is rare. To search the name is rare. Our great assumptions are cemented in the pride of a statue. So they stand, mysteries memorialised, great grains of granite gathered into lips that led sons to war, carefully arranged stone to mould eyes that saw and bought slaves. Men who strove to walk an entire race to its grave. Oh, how this city still celebrates, how our streets still commemorate crime, by plating the past in gold and parading it across the eyes of migrants who were torn from their very homes by this very man. This very chapter in history that they say has been stripped of its honour, yet still these trophies stand, golden grim reapers. If these are lessons that we take pride in having learnt, pull down the decorations, let the balloons be burst, and let death come to all that we insist has died. And then she follows up straight after with a poem called But If the Statues Must Stay. But if the statues must stay, dedicate us at least a bench, somewhere to rest the legs of the 220,000 non-white staff members of the NHS who were hardly allowed a second to sit throughout every war and COVID. Plant us at least a tree to remember the 380,000 black soldiers who ensured Britain could breathe in their foreign and final breath as their funeral but Britain's victory. At least a plaque or a wreath for the minority majority of the high street that has always upheld this economy. Immortalise the sacrifice, not the one holding the knife. To what we still give glory, history makes right. I remember in 2020 when this statue discussion did pop up, there was a lot of particularly right-wing commentary being like, well, we have to keep the statues up because even though these were slave owners, they did terrible things, we can't tear them down because otherwise where will people go to learn about them? We're not commemorating them by keeping their statues up, we're inviting an opportunity to learn. And this poem just kind of rips into that and is like, does it? Do people actually look up these figures or do they walk past them, assume that these are good people? And that is only one discussion that is happening within this poetry collection. As always, I like to dog ear pages of poems that just had a particular impact on me, and many here. I think as a standalone piece of work this is beautiful. As a follow-up to Somebody Give This Heart a Pen, which I thought was so good that it actually inspired me to write poetry myself, it's just fantastic, and I am going to continue to read anything else that Sophia Thakur puts out. And yeah, just a really brilliant start to the year. I'm really glad I read this. Do let me know if you have picked up Wearing My Mother's Heart, or if you are interested to following my review video. Alternatively, let me know about any poetry or any other books that you've picked up recently that you would recommend. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye!